Hi guys, Matt from Ukhammocks. Today we're going to have a quick look at my cook sets. They've changed quite a lot over the last couple of months, so I thought it'd be a good time, to go through what it is that I carry in my pack, for cooking and eating, drinking, that sort of thing. I did a video about 3 or 4 weeks ago when I went on a 3-day trip with Adam from AC Flukes around Lake Windermere, doing the Windermere Way. And when I did that video, I showed you my cook set very briefly, and I put it over to one side. Now that cook set was the GSI Minimalist, which I no longer use, and it isn't actually the stove that I took on the trip. Before I left, I changed out the pot for this one, which is a Heineken pot, or Heineken beer can. So this is what I took then. It was in the configuration with a pot cosy. Inside I had my white box stove, which came from Backpacking Light, and I also had my fire steel. This is actually quite a big one. I could do with getting a smaller, more lightweight version of this, which I use to light my stove, and the little pot grabber that you get with the GSI Minimalist. So this thing is brilliant. It's very easy to transport your pot on and off the stove. So this was my cook set for going there. So I had a lid stuck in the bottom. So the whole cook set with my bits in and the lid is weighing in at, let me see, 157 grams. So it's a very lightweight set, and to say that that's also got the white box stove in there, which I'm not too sure how much that weighs, and obviously this is, take out the bag and give it a quick weigh in. 30 grams. So it is a very light cook set, and it was an awful lot lighter than the GSI Minimalist. This is a Reflectix pot cosy, and it's got a neoprene kind of, I think you get them for you like a beer can, sit over the top, just as like one of those that's been cut up to cover it, with which you can take it on and off the heat. Now the only issue I had with this stove was that, in conjunction with the white box, the burn pattern is quite wide on the white box stove, and I found it started to lick up the side of my pot. Now if I show you this, you'll see it's actually started to scorch the neoprene. So I'm going to overcome that by, I've ordered some fiberglass wick from Tinny at Mini Bull Design, and I'm going to rewrap this pot rather than using the neoprene. So that was my Heineken pot. The lid is it's been cut off with a safety cutter. You can get them in the UK. I got one from Amazon. And inside the lid, underneath, this is the top of an aluminium tube that tennis balls come in. You get the little plastic lids on. Underneath there is a little piece of Reflectix. So it's insulated from the top, and it's insulated around it, and that will keep your brew warm for about 15-20 minutes. It's actually very good. I was heating my water up in this, about 650 ml, pouring about 500 into my dehydrated meals, the free-dried meals, and then the remaining water was being kept in there, a sachet of coffee added to it, and it was good, 10 minutes after I'd eaten the meal, which takes 5-6 minutes to rehydrate, and then give it 5-6 minutes to eat it. The brew was still piping hot, actually too hot, so really efficient. What else I have had? Okay, through the post the other day, oh sorry, forgot to say, inside here is my windshield that comes with the white box stove. That also went with that set, so let me just add that weight on there. Okay, that's 24 grams. So with this you get the windshield itself and the base plate. I'll go back over this in a minute because there's something I want to say on windshields and whatever. So the post yesterday, day before yesterday, I had a pack, well, 2 boxes arrive from Mini Bull Design Cult, and I got my Foster's pot that I had Tinny make me with a lid, with the new milled lip and the new spines on. Now these pots are actually quite fragile. They're not as good as the Heineken pots are, which are kind of ridged, so they do flex, and you can see that. But with the spine on, you can't crush the pot. And with the lip in, that also reinforces the top. The lid's a brilliant fit. You know, so it is, you know, it's a great little cooking set. So the weight of this with the lid on comes in at 78 grams. Again, it's a great little pot, and because the neck's slightly wider, it means I can, you know, put my windshield a little bit better inside. It's not so much of a, you know, a bugger to get out, and it works very well. And I also got in my other little package was the new Mini Bull Design Cult Elite stove. This is made out of the Red Bull can. I'll bring that over so you guys can see. So he has what looks like rolled the top. There's a liner inside with a small groove right in the top there, which is how the fuel drains into the outside, and then it has got the jets all around. It's been sealed and rolled over on the base there to create a good seal. This stove, in comparison to the white box, efficiency and heat wise, I would put them at about the same. However, this weighs 8 grams. This, we've just done it and I've forgotten, weighs 30 grams. There's a big weight difference. Alright, yeah, you've got to be a little bit more careful with this. It is a little bit more flexible. You know, you could probably drive a car over the white box stove and it'd be alright. But I've got to protect my pots, so it makes no difference for me to protect my stove. My stove will always be inside my pot in the bag anyway, so it's going to be protected. And the other bonus of this is the burn pattern is a lot narrower than that in the white box. So when used with a Heine pot, you get a really good burn pattern of concentrated heat underneath the pot, not licking up the side like you get with the white box stove. And when you translate that over to the Foster's pot, it's even better. The Foster's pot's slightly wider on the bottom than the Heine pot is. So my money's with this now. It's very efficient. I did a couple of burn tests with it yesterday and last night, and it was doing my 2 cups, or well, not 2 cups, my meal's worth, which is about 500ml for my meal and about 150 for a brew, which is, you know, just off the top of my Foster's pot here, with just under an ounce of fuel, about 7.5 minutes, which is plenty fast enough. Slightly faster than what the white box was doing it, and I was having to use slightly more fuel than the white box. I've got no idea whether that's to do with the jets being slightly bigger, or the fact that I'm losing an awful lot of heat up the side of the pot. I don't know these things. I'm sure somebody will better tell me. So what else have we got? I use my little Nalgene 4-ounce fuel bottles. They're great little things, and they work really well. So I tend to have, I haven't actually got one here, I only have 2. One's got the flip top lid, and the other one has just got a normal screw on lid, and I'll just transfer between the 2. Now I do know, I don't know whether you guys are going to be able to see this, I'll bring these 2 stoves over. I got quite practice with the white box stove, and inside you can see where the lip changes down into where the spout of the bottle would be. Now just underneath that I had a mark in my mind, and when I filled it up to there I knew I was putting about an ounce of fuel in. With the Mini Bull Elite, you can see there's actually a line, I don't know if you can see that, there's a line where the meths is marked, and it's just down here. Again, that is about 3/4 of an ounce. They're both, with that amount, they boil the same amount of water in about the same time, so it is slightly more efficient, and it's an awful lot lighter. So what you can do, you could scratch, you know, with a tip of a pin or a blade of some sort. You could scratch a mark in there to tell you, you know, when you've got the right amount of fuel. Alternatively, you could carry a little 1-ounce bottle. You could transfer into the 1 ounce, and you know you're adding an ounce of fuel every time. That's entirely up to you. To me, it's just adding more weight. What else? Oh, this. My spoon. This is a Sea Summit alloy hard anodised spoon. One of the long handle versions with a kind of shovel bottom. It's really good at getting in your packet meals. You can get right in the corners and clean out, you know, save you having all the dry crusty bits at the bottom. And the weight of that is 11 grams. Worth it. I mean, it's not titanium, and if I went titanium it would be slightly lighter, but I'm willing for the trade-off because I've the only long handled one that I've actually really liked, and I like the way that the spoon itself is shaped. Now, in the UK, for those of you that don't know, we cannot get, for love nor money, Heineken pots or the big Foster's beer cans. They just don't exist. In fact, the Heineken pot doesn't even exist in the US anymore, they don't make it. But the Foster's pot is a totally different size pot. I don't even think in fact, bear with me. This is a can of Carlsberg, and this is how big a can of beer is in the UK. There's quite a difference. There's quite a difference in size. Obviously the Americans, you know, maybe you just can't drink as much as us, so you need to make yourselves feel better by having bigger cans, or maybe you just have weaker beer. I don't know. But anyway, we can't get big cans. So for us, using a can this size just wouldn't work on top of a stove like this. For one, you can't balance it. It doesn't fit inside the hollow at the bottom. Okay, so it's never going to work. But these ones do. However, yesterday I was wandering around Morrison's and I came across the mini Heineken kegs. Now I don't know whether you guys in the US can get these or whether they're just kind of a special offer kind of thing. I have seen them before and I've totally forgotten about them. These are 330 centilitres, which is the same size as the standard Coca-Cola can, you know, that kind of size, Tango, they're all the same. But because it's a Heineken mini keg shape, it's really rigid. It's obviously designed with the same shape, so it has got the ridges down the side. It's very crush resistant. Even the centre is slightly more substance to it than even the big Foster's pot. Now what I've done, I've put a Help for Heroes band on, which is just something to hold on to. Now obviously we're not going to be cooking with this, because as I explained before, the hole in the bottom is too small to be put in on top of a stove. You're going to lose all your heat up the side. But because the lip's too small, I couldn't put a silicone lip guard around there. So what I did is I cut one and I just super glued it on. And it works brilliant. It doesn't need to go all the way around. And to use in conjunction with that, all I've done is put it in a pot cosy. And it's worked absolutely brilliant. Again, it keeps your brew warm. Now, why have I done this? Maybe because I'm getting a little bit annoyed with myself. Every time I make a brew in my pot, I end up with bits of coffee or, you know, remnants of a drink inside. If you have hot chocolate, you end up with bits of chocolate inside. And I'm going to be cooking water in this to eat my meals. So it's kind of getting a little bit annoying. I'm having to wipe it out all the time. If I kept that as just a clear pot, and the only thing it got done, you know, was boiling water in it, and I had a dedicated brew cup, maybe I'd be a little happier. We'll see. The weight of this comes in at 30 grams with the pot cosy, 20 grams without. So in the summer months you probably wouldn't really need to take the pot cosy with you. You could maybe add a little bit of fiberglass wick, or as I did the other day, a couple more, maybe 2 more silicone wristbands on, and you'll have enough to hold and drink your brew out of it, and you won't really need to worry about, you know, the outside. So as far as I know, I think that is everything. Stoves I keep in a bag because you don't want to get meths inside your thing. Last thing I want to talk about is windshields. They're there for a reason. 1, to block the wind, and 2, because if you don't use it, the cool air, even if it's not windy, the cool air is going to cool the outside of your stove, and it's going to cool the outside of your pot. Now, if you're counting grams and you're trying to go, you know, as light as physically possible, the more weight you can save, the better. Pot stands, oh sorry, windshield even, 32 grams. That there is just under 2 ounces of fuel, is 80 grams. If you're away for a couple of days, the amount of fuel you would waste by not using a windshield would weigh more than the windshield itself. The way a windshield works is, especially these kind of wraparound ones, is you have a base plate on the bottom, okay, and you put your stove on top of the base plate. Now what that does is it reflects heat back up into the stove, keeping the core temperature of the fuel inside the stove high, which creates more vapour, and it's the vapour that we burn out the jets. It's not fuel, you're just burning vapour. The fuel boils, it releases a flammable gas, and that gas ignites coming out the jets. So when you seal on top of the pot, you've got flammable gas coming out the side. You're not just burning raw fuel. The pot surround the windshield. What this does is when you put it around your pot, you know, your pot's on there cooking, obviously you have it a little bit wider than that, you're reflecting heat back into your pot, you're reflecting heat back into the stove. So it's doing the same thing, it's keeping it warmer. And the warmer you can keep your stove, the more efficient it'll burn. So, in my opinion, if you're going to use a windshield, use it properly, make sure it's all the way around, get it as tight as you can to the stove and the pot. A lot of these have got punched air holes in the bottom which will allow fresh air to come in. Obviously, you know, we need oxygen for the flames to work. However, it will reflect the heat back in to the stove, which will mean you'll boil a lot quicker. I mean, trust me and try it. Get outside, put your stove on, it doesn't have to be windy, and time it boiling without a windshield and time it boiling with a windshield inside. I guarantee it'll be a faster burn, which means using less fuel. It's as simple as that. So there we go, that's it, my cook set. I've obviously moved over to the new cook set. All fits inside itself. You know, just ring your windshield up a little bit, that pops down inside there. I put my stove in the bag, Nalgene bottle in the top, stove sits upside down on top of the little Nalgene bottle. The pot grabber goes in. Again, I could use a bandana or, you know, a glove or a hat or a sleeve of my t-shirt, but I like having that in there. Lid on top, and then I put the cosy on upside down, and there we go. So a whole set for me weighs in with fuel, so give or take. This is coming in at 256 grams. If that fuel bottle was full, we'd be looking at maybe just about 300 grams with a spoon on top, maybe 320 all in. And that's the fuel, the stove, the pot, the works. Now if I was going to carry this can go inside that pot as well. The only issue is, because the lip's too small, the stove won't fit inside. So I'd have to transport the stove separately. Which, to be honest, I'd rather have a protected stove than a brew cup. So it's something I'm going to have to work on, maybe see about cutting this further down and being able to roll the lip further down so it's a slightly wider mouth, which will allow my stove to sit inside. But that's something for, you know, for the future to work with in this ever-going, never-ending trail to get lighter and lighter. So I hope you've enjoyed it, guys. Something a little bit different rather than just talking about products. Just let you know, kind of what I'm carrying and what's going on. I've also ordered, which I will post up another video, is I've got a new Foster's pot coming from Zelf Stoves, which is the original ridged Foster's pot. Basically, he's milled ridges into the outside, which makes it really sturdy. So it's obviously going to be lighter because it doesn't have the spine and the lip on top to add weight to it. So we'll see how that goes. But I'll post another video up with some weights and dimensions and stuff. I'll catch you guys in another video. Take care on the trail.